Disclaimer, this video exists for the purposes of entertainment, education, and theory rebuttal. Furthermore, considering the subject of this video is game theory, I want to make it clear that this video is not an attack on MatPat as a person outside of his chosen YouTube profession. I only wish to show the flaws in his theories and practices while creating theories. Unless there is substantial evidence, it is not assumed MatPat still stands behind the video in question, and when addressing older videos, I do so in a vacuum, speaking only to MatPat's assumed mindset at the time of the video's creation. If you harass or witch hunt anyone involved with this video, I will personally disown you. Thank you. Welcome back to this tirade that started with Rosalina unmasked and is gonna end with Mario as mental because yay, kill me. Last time I tore apart the theory that Rosalina is the daughter of Peach and Luigi. The theory was riddled with holes, most of which were self-inflicted, mind you, and a lot of the points ignored obvious contradictory evidence. And logic. The big problem was logic. Today, I'm going to be tearing apart MatPat's sad excuse for a Mario timeline. Now, here's a story, because I know that some of you know why I'm doing this, but a lot of you don't. See, this one is a personal vendetta. Now, I was a younger Miku back in the year 2015 when this video came out. I was absolutely obsessed with the Mario series because some things just never change. That was when I decided to write my very own Mario timeline. I hadn't really seen one I was quite happy with at the time, so I wanted to make my very own. It was going to be great. It took me literally months to come up with that timeline. I scrutinized every title in the series and their relevance to other titles until I came up with something I was proud of. And then I had to make an alternate universe timeline on top of that because Super Mario RPG is the hecking timeline killer. Freaking seriously. Day before I planned to release my timeline, though, was when MatPat released his. For that reason alone, I was already livid. Now people would be paying more attention to MatPat's timeline than mine. My priorities in 2015 were great, weren't they? Still angry, I decided to watch the video just to see how different our two takes on the series were. If I was ticked before, I was seriously ticked after. That was when I made a rant on DeviantArt, in a DeviantArt journal, and it was poorly thought out and rushed and awful. Now I'm trying to make up for how hasty and sloppy that rant was by doing this video, even though I had to do Rosalina Unmasked first just to have context for part of it. Screw you, MatPat. Now, let's go ahead, skip the opening fluff, and get right into this thing, starting right...
Did somebody say... crossover?
Oh, hey Drake, Kenny. Glad you guys could join me after I so shamelessly name-dropped your old show's title. Thanks for coming by and helping me put this whole thing together.
Oh yeah, I should probably address the elephant in the room. This episode of Game Theory with MatPat is also a crossover with a show from his channel that, by this point, had already been dead for around a year, called Crossover. It's a crossover with crossover. Gosh. Anyway, that means MatPat wasn't alone in making this timeline, which automatically makes all of the egregious errors in this timeline twice as bad, considering there were more people working on this timeline and they still didn't catch these blatant errors. Yippee! Now, I'm skipping most of the baby era section, but I do have one point I want to point out, and that's how they decided to place partners in time in Yoshi's Island DS.
You see, the key to sorting out the order of these games lies in the reactions between Baby Bowser and his future mature self. In Partners in Time, Bowser and Baby Bowser team up for the very first time. However, in Yoshi's Island DS, the Bowsers don't seem remotely fazed at all by any of these time-traveling shenanigans, leading us to believe that they've already crossed paths once before.
Yeah, not even remotely fazed. That's why Baby Bowser in Yoshi's Island DS spouts the line, "Are you saying that even when I'm an old geezer, I'll still be trying to take over the universe? Lame." This directly implies that this is the first time they've met. I'll leave you to figure out how they've met for the first time twice, but I just put this here to tell you that MatPat can't context. And believe me, that'll be coming back with a vengeance later.
There's also a line in there where Bowser is calling Baby Bowser past me. That's right, Baby Bowser is not Bowser's son Bowser Jr., and instead, his past self.
Well, that's a theory for a whole nother day.
Okay, I was about to call you all Captain Obvious for even bringing this up, but then MatPat threw that statement onto the end. Please don't ever make that theory. That's the one thing you don't want to steal from me, honest.
You know what they say? Chili today, hot tomorrow. They say that.
What about all the spin-off titles where Baby Mario is around, like the kart games?
I think it's best we focus on the main series titles. Yeah, since Nintendo is playing all fast and loose with warping through space and time, there's probably an explanation in there somewhere for everyone and their mom having a baby version now and being able to kart and party with them. But again, that's best addressed in another video. Coming up with a timeline for the main games is tricky enough.
Remember that. It's gonna bite him later. Actually, remember that for now, since all the games they've listed so far technically classify as spin-off games. Both the Yoshi series and the Mario and Luigi series are spin-offs, so by your own words, you shouldn't be bringing them up. For the sake of argument though, let's just say that by spin-offs you mean games like the Mario Party series, the Mario Kart series, and the Mario Sports games. Either way, it'll still come back later, and boy is it gonna bite hard!
And that brings us to the end of our so-called baby era. Now, it would only make sense to call the next section the adult era.
Man, I was really looking forward to some angsty teenage-era Mario games.
For this, we're gonna have to dig deep into the lore and leave no stone unturned. Every official source is on the table. Every official source is on the table.
Every official source is on the table.
Also remember that statement. I sure did doing all my research for this fiasco, believe you me.
If you take a look at the Smash history of the Koopas, you'll notice that the trophy description in Super Smash Bros. Brawl states that the Shell Creeper Turtles are, quote, shelled enemies Mario and Luigi faced back when they were plumbers.
Exactly. That implies that the Mario brothers were just humble plumbers before they got wrapped up in Mushroom Kingdom heroism. In fact, it actually tells us that they haven't been plumbers for quite some time.
Nintendo, you've lied to me!
So, a previous version of the script that I wrote had a point about Smash trophies not being a credible source of information, and it brought up Baby Mario's Brawl trophy that says he doesn't wear overalls when the trophy on screen clearly has overalls. But I scrapped that point because it was dumb. You know what was also dumb? I couldn't actually find an image of the trophy with this description, so I spent actually an hour in trophy launcher mode just waiting for this trophy to pop up just so I can have an image for this point. And I scrapped the point. It's not really anything against this point, but I just wanted to share that story because it pains me inside. What I will say, though, is that this point is actually pretty good. Why am I interjecting just to say this is a good point? Well...
That must mean that Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. Are the next two games in the timeline, as it's the time that the brothers are plumbers, then they hang up their plungers in favor of edible superpowers and Peach's sweet, sweet cake. Yeah.
Back up a minute. You didn't even give any reasoning for Super Mario Bros. With the research you put in for Mario Bros. Just a second ago, it's really jarring to see you just throwing Super Mario Bros. Here for absolutely no reason. Oh wait, I forgot. That's a common theme throughout this video. My bad.
The true sequel to the NES Super Mario Bros. Is what we silly Americans know as Mario the Lost Levels. But believe it or not, this game doesn't have any of its own story. It was really just a glorified map pack that was packaged as its own standalone game.
So, exactly what they did with New Super Luigi U.
But that was for the Year of Luigi, which makes it slightly better.
Two things. One, while I can agree that New Super Luigi U was essentially an overglorified map pack, Lost Levels, or the Japanese Super Mario Bros. 2, is not. It's a sequel using the same engine. Learn what a sequel is. Sure, the story is lacking, but you can just say that instead of discrediting the game as a game. 2. There's a statement from the game's staff in Lost Levels instruction manual that says that the game's setting is a parallel world to Super Mario Bros. As such, the game barely belongs on a timeline like this. Funny that I only had to go to the Mario Wiki to find that out, then Google Translate Nintendo's official website to confirm. It's almost like I can do research better than MatPat. Who'da thunk it?
With that out of the way, the big clue for the next true entry in our Mario timeline lies directly in the manual for Super Mario Bros. 3. In it, we discover that Bowser has 7 children who we'll start seeing in many future installments. What sets Super Mario Bros. 3 as the first game starring the Koopa Kids is the only dialogue we ever see them deliver.
The future then proceeded to laugh at MatPat so hard he died.
As you can clearly see, Windy O Koopa states, "This is the first time I've met up with Mario. I'm studying his moves very carefully." Jeez, that almost sounded like Mickey Mouse. Quality voiceovering, ladies and gentlemen. This clearly means that this is the first time that Mario has ever crossed shells with the Koopalings. And if one manual wasn't enough, how about two? The manual for Super Mario World clearly states that this game takes place directly after Super Mario Bros. 3.
Congratulations! You placed Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario World relative to each other on a timeline! How does this correspond to them being right here, though? You give no reasoning for that. It could be 3 games up from where they are now, and it wouldn't even matter because you gave absolutely zero reasoning for why you put them here, and you will continue to give no reasoning as to why they're here. That's not how timelines work.
Next up on the chopping block, Super Mario 64. Or rather, it's DS retcon, Super Mario 64 DS. In it, King Boo appears and threatens to trap Mario in a painting, directly foreshadowing the events of Luigi's Mansion, the next game in the timeline.
Whoa, MatPat, quit moving so fast. You're going to give me whiplash. Not only did you not give any reasoning for Super Mario 64 DS being on this timeline over the original whatsoever, you also gave no reasoning for its placement relative to anything but Luigi's Mansion, which is also flawed because you fail to understand context or semantics. King Boo's line, "I locked up the wimpy green mustache man and I'll do the same to you," does not refer to trapping Mario in a painting. It refers to an action King Boo is planning to do in the moment. He has Luigi trapped in this mirror and he's going to do the same thing to Mario right there in that moment. No long-term plans are being made here. This line could even come after Luigi's Mansion, and nothing about the context would change because it doesn't refer to Luigi's Mansion at all. Stop misconstruing character dialogue, dang it!
Following Luigi's solo adventure, we get Super Mario Sunshine. Oddly enough, what gives away this game's place in the timeline is this super small video feed in the lower right-hand corner of the screen when Mario's new water jetpack, the Flood, scans Mario to register his identity. In it, we can clearly see the events of the original Super Mario Bros., Super Mario World, and Super Mario 64. So we know it must come after all of those.
So why does this game come after Luigi's Mansion and not before it? I thought this timeline was supposed to be more coherent than the Zelda timeline.
That's all fine and dandy, but what about Super Mario RPG? That's one of my favorite games ever.
Heck game, frick! That wasn't a segue, that was blatant and shameless fanboying. Get that out of here.
Don't worry, Mario RPG is the next game in the timeline. Wouldn't you know it? This game features the birth of Yoshi's love interest, Birdo.
Wait, so Yoshi has been around since Mario was a baby, and he's been seen dating a newborn? Man, we're uncovering some pretty twisted hidden lore.
Have you watched any of my Mario videos? It's a really dark franchise.
I'm going to come to your house with a knife, MatPat. First off, thanks for once again giving absolutely no evidence for why this is here on the timeline. This one's even worse because you didn't give its position relevant to anything, period. You just kind of stick it here to stick it here, and it really feels like it's just in this timeline so you can put your favorite game in your timeline while disregarding the fact that this game kills timelines because nothing in it is consistent with the rest of the franchise. Seriously! Number 2. The American Super Mario Bros. 2, Mario Power Tennis, Super Mario Strikers and Strikers Charged, and Mario Super Sluggers. Besides all being absent from this timeline, what do all these games have in common? If you said that Birdo was a species, therefore this birth of Birdo point is absolutely moronic, congratulations! You actually acknowledged the spin-offs and the actually canon lore that they bring to the table, unlike our good friends MatPat, Drake, and Kenny. Finally, I can't believe I have to say this again, but oh my gosh, MatPat, your theories are not truth. Quit pretending like they are. Mario is not mental. Rosalina is not Peach's daughter, and this timeline is complete and utter garbage.
Back on track, guys.
Oh, okay. Super Mario RPG inspired a set of spin-off games known as the Mario and Luigi series, starting with Superstar Saga. In it, Birdo makes an appearance as well as Professor Egad from Luigi's Mansion, which is why it has to fall here in the timeline. And I should be sure to mention that Luigi is flat out shown to have the Poltergust 3000 from Luigi's Mansion, all facts that solidly place these games right here in the timeline.
Except for the fact that I already debunked the Birdo point, and once again, you can't actually definitively place this game here because your evidence basically amounts to, well, it has to, because look at this convenient segue.
This game also introduces a recurring villain in the Mario and Luigi series, Fawful. It's awful, but with an F. Fawful. Fawful also appears in the era-spanning sequel, Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, and even recounts the events of the previous title. This starts a trend in the series where each new installment references the events of the previous titles, giving us a solid timeline of Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, followed by Mario and Luigi Dream Team.
Let's do something a little different. Instead of me saying the same thing I've been repeating for the past few interjections now, even though it's still true, let's actually provide evidence to debunk this part of the timeline. In Mario & Luigi Dream Team, there's a certain enemy that appears in the game known as a Big-Tailed Goomba. This enemy originated from Super Mario 3D Land, where part of Bowser's plan was to give groups of his minions super leaves to have them grow Tanuki tails. That means that Mario & Luigi Dream Team has to come after Super Mario 3D Land, yet this is ignored. I know this might seem nitpicky of me, but let me put things this way. One evidence is better than zero evidence. These are things that have to be taken into consideration when you're making a timeline that you want anyone to be able to take seriously, especially when you're touting it as the definitive answer to all Mario timelines, which this mess is far from being.
And Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon comes in after that. In it, Professor Egad outfits Luigi with a brand new Poltergust 5000 to replace the old model that was last seen in Superstar Saga and Luigi's Mansion 1.
No evidence for this being here, blah blah blah, I'm getting bored.
Bringing us into a new age. Well, that is, a new Super Mario Bros. Age, with the events of New Super Mario Bros. And New Super Mario Bros. 2, which don't do anything new for the series and instead compound on the tropes and elements introduced in earlier games.
Except for the fact that they introduced many new iconic power-ups like the Mega and Mini Mushrooms, the White Tanuki Suit, and the Gold Flower, that New Super Mario Bros. Was actually the first new Mario 2D platformer to come out since Super Mario World, and it set up a lot of brand new Mario tropes like the tower levels and star coins. That New Super Mario Bros. 2 tried something new with the coin counter that tallied your total amount of coins over the entire playthrough, and having the general theme of giving you ridiculous amounts of coins, etc. and etc. Need I continue? Yes, they compounded on tropes, but they're not the same games. Get your swollen ego out of here and make a dang timeline already, because this doesn't do anything for you in the slightest.
But after years and years of saving the Mushroom Kingdom all by their lonesome, in New Super Mario Bros. Wii and New Super Mario Bros. U, the Mario Bros. Find partners in the form of brand new characters, Blue Toad and Yellow Toad.
Gee, Nintendo, real original names there, guys.
I think they would be better off named something like Buckenberry and Alagold.
That was terrible joke delivery, and you know it, Kenny. I'm almost offended. Also, no evidence for any of these games being where they are. Big surprise.
With our new Toad friends, we're brought into the Super Mario Galaxy series and the first appearance of fan favorite Rosalina. Rosalina, who loyal theorists will know is actually Luigi and Peach's daughter, comes from the far future, a Rosalina era, if you will. At the end of Super Mario Galaxy, Rosalina uses her time travel abilities to retcon the entire game, creating a new galaxy.
Whoa! Back up for a second, MatPat. Did you forget your own theory?
Quick recap. Rosalina is apparently the child of Luigi and Peach who doesn't age because time dilation and is somehow unexplainably able to exist in parallel universes and times where her mother is alive and the same age as her. She does not and cannot time travel, and she does not and cannot create new galaxies. Unless this was the missing link in that theory and the entire time you didn't actually explain that, only bothering to bring it up in this insignificant section of a completely separate theory. Congratulations, MatPat! You have officially failed even harder at making theories. This isn't the last time this theory gets brought up either, and boy, oh boy, be prepared for me to rage when that comes around.
Leading directly into the events of Super Mario Galaxy 2. Let's be honest here, Galaxy 2 was just the same game with a fancy new coat of paint.
Thank you for once again discrediting a sequel running on the same engine and also providing no evidence for the placement of a game on your timeline that you claim to be the definitive answer to all Mario timelines. Like, my good gosh, I guess Pokemon Yellow, Crystal, Emerald, and Platinum aren't real games. I guess Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 aren't real games. I guess Banjo-Tooie isn't a real game. Do you see what I'm getting at here? I don't care if Super Mario Galaxy 2 is a weak title that relies way too much on its predecessor. It's still its own game. End of story. Actually, not end of story, because this does absolutely nothing for this video, and you doing this is only serving to make me angry. Thanks!
That leads us into Super Mario 3D Land and Super Mario 3D World. There isn't really a definitive way to place these two relative to each other, but we do know they take place after the new Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Galaxy games, since they feature a playable Rosalina, those obnoxious cosmic clones from Galaxy, and the Blue Toad from New Super Mario Bros. Wii and U.
You can't even place Super Mario 3D Land and Super Mario 3D World relative to each other? Really? But you've been doing such a good job of placing games without evidence thus far. Jokes aside though, this is really lazy. MatPat, at this point, I don't even care if it's arbitrary, just pick one to go in front of the other. You can't just stick them on top of each other because at this point, this can't even really be called a timeline anymore. You get an F.
And with that said, for the console Mario games, this is the end of the timeline. One where Peach chooses Luigi over Mario, as we discussed in my 2-part video on the subject of Rosalina's origins, and that's it. It's the end of the story for those two, but Mario's story isn't over, as he hops on over to the Game Boy for the Super Mario Land series. With his younger brother swooping in and stealing his girl, Mario leaves, pursuing an adventure in the country of Sarasaland, where the events of the first Super Mario Land take place. Here, Mario saves a new princess, Princess Daisy, from an evil alien named Tatanga. How do we know it's at the end of the timeline? Well, notice the heart. Mario's affections have moved on to another woman.
Wait. Are we saying that Mario and Luigi's love life has been reversed this entire time? That Luigi ends up with Princess Peach, and then Mario ends up with Princess Daisy?
Nintendo, you've lied to me.
Yep! I told you that stupid theory would be relevant again. He's using it to turn Super Mario Land into Salty Mario Land. This is basically the final part of the Rosalina Unmasked theory from earlier. Luigi has Peach now, for some unknown reason. See the last video to know why that doesn't make sense. So Mario gets butthurt, goes to a completely different country that coincidentally has a kidnapped princess that needs saving, then falls in love with her instead. Not only does this completely disregard a good chunk of Mario canon, especially Luigi and Daisy's heavily implied relationship that might as well be canon at this point, but it makes Mario out to be incredibly shallow. All over one tiny little heart. That's right! MatPat is using the presence of one heart to say that Mario's affections have moved on, completely disregarding the fact that this heart might just signify a simple thank you kiss on the cheek, like Peach gives Mario all the time. I'm fine, I promise. I just needed to get that off my chest. We're moving on now.
And things finish up with Super Mario Land 2, where, as we read in the manual, Wario's taken advantage of Mario being in Sarasaland to overtake Mario's castle.
Wait, Mario has a castle? Nintendo, you've...
Kenny, get a hold of yourself.
This segment could have been a great place to try to speculate on why Mario has that castle, as it might open up a lot of new avenues for this timeline and several other theories, but instead you squander it on a pointless joke. Way to go, Kenny.
And there you have it, the complete Mario timeline.
Feels like we're leaving out a few pretty crucial titles here.
Hey, wait a minute, that's right. You haven't covered the original Donkey Kong games. Those were, after all, Mario's big debut as the Carpenter Jumpman. In fact, let's give it a category of its own. The Jumpman era.
And this is where this timeline jumps in a pit to try to end its own misery.
Which causes a bit of an issue with this timeline, doesn't it? Mario is well established as a plumber.
The thing is, do we really know that? The only thing we know is that he is, or was, a plumber. We don't know if he actually established a name for himself as a plumber before he started saving Princess Peach on a regular basis. These guys are also going off the horrible assumption that a person can only have one job in their life. Newsflash, that's not true by a long shot. There's actually a pretty good chance that Mario could have been a carpenter before taking up plumbing.
Guys, it would be a problem, except for the fact that Mario the Carpenter Jumpman and Mario the Plumber Super Mario aren't actually the same person, but rather father and son. To prove it, it's gonna take some monkey business. We have to hop franchises and look for clues sprinkled throughout the Donkey Kong Country series.
They're technically gorillas, not monkeys.
It's an expression. Never mind.
But MatPat, I thought you weren't covering spin-off games. I could play this game with you all day if I had to.
By now, everyone knows that the original Donkey Kong, the one climbing girders in the arcade cabinets, aged into the surly ape we all know and love as Cranky Kong. It's also fairly common knowledge that the current-day Donkey Kong, the one with the sporty tie, is actually Cranky's grandson. Current-day Donkey Kong first appeared alongside Baby Mario as Baby DK in Yoshi's Island DS, which tells us two things: that Mario and DK are about the same age, and that our current-day DK is neither Cranky Kong nor Donkey Kong Jr. You know, the one who appeared in the original Mario Kart and the one who appeared in Donkey Kong Jr. the game.
You know what the funny part is? There's no definitive evidence that says Baby DK is any specific iteration of Donkey Kong. I'll let you all ruminate on that one for a while.
DK Jr. then is, of course, Cranky's son, making him DK's father.
But how could an adult Mario faced off against a younger Cranky and also been a baby at the same time as the modern-day Donkey Kong?
Well, let's take another look at Cranky, who's the linchpin in this entire series. Real-world gorillas have a lifespan of about 40 years, and Cranky has got to be on the tail end of that. At full size, Cranky would have been about 15, the average age when gorillas stopped growing. DK Jr. had already been alive for several years as a gorilla reaches sexual maturity around 8 years old. This now presents the possibility that DK Jr., still a young and growing ape, would be about the age to be looking for his own mate to sire his son, Donkey Kong III.
I never thought that a gorilla's sexual maturity would be what ties together the entire Mario timeline.
Yeah, who knew that would be a topic for a video? Laying everything out across Cranky's lifespan makes one thing abundantly clear.
Did you seriously just put DK the Third's age as 15? Are you hecking serious? Is this where we're going with this? Is Mario 15 now?
Laying everything out across Cranky's lifespan makes one thing abundantly clear. Jumpman, the Mario we see in Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., is not the same person as the Mario we see in the Super Mario series. The sexual maturity of Cranky Kong proves that it can't be the case.
Okay, here we go. I have written rebuttals to this point on 5 separate occasions. I've tried to say that Cranky could be Baby DK, but that brought in a whole can of worms I didn't feel like opening at the immediate moment. I tried to say that Cranky could have been older during the events of Donkey Kong, meaning he'd have enough time to grow old in time for the present day, but that disregarded Donkey Kong Jr. and was flawed from the start. I even tried to calculate the ages of these characters through context clues and ran around in circles for hours with numbers that didn't matter to anything at all. As it would turn out, though, the answer was right in front of my face the whole time. I was just going about everything all wrong. Instead of trying to prove that Cranky could be the same age as Mario, all I had to do was prove that Mario had to have fought Cranky Kong. That's where I found my answers. For the guy that wants to use Smash Bros. Trophies as evidence, how about every single Mario trophy in the Smash series since Melee, which lists Mario's first appearance as being in Donkey Kong? His Brawl trophy even goes into detail in the description that makes mention of his girder climbing days. Furthermore, Mario's bio in Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games states that Mario developed his skills chasing down a big ape. Also, Super Mario Odyssey exists now. This timeline dies hard to Super Mario Odyssey, believe you me. Pauline herself directly refers to Mario having saved her from Donkey Kong in New Donk City, which was retroactively named as the place the original Donkey Kong occurred. If this isn't proof enough for you, trip down a flight of stairs. Now, you might tell me that this timeline was made 2 years before Odyssey. In response to that, I'll say I don't care in the slightest. I'm debunking this timeline for all time right now. Yes, I'll lean more heavily toward evidence that would be available at the time, but I'll use anything I can for the present too. That's how I work, folks.
Now get this, given our established time frame, it is extremely likely that the mother of the Super Mario Brothers is Pauline, Mario's damsel in distress from the original Donkey Kong game. The manual for Donkey Kong explicitly refers to her as Mario's girlfriend. That's more confirmation than we've ever seen with Peach beyond a kiss and a couple of cakes. We can now actually chart out the entire Mario bloodline from Jumpman and Pauline to Rosalina.
No. That instruction manual you brought up, that specifically said Mario, not Jumpman. Even if you wanted to make the argument that Jumpman could have also been named Mario, the instruction manual for Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2 would like to have a word with you, as it states that Mario and Pauline are close friends, and close friends does not equal mother and son. Also, going back to Super Mario Odyssey, Pauline not only directly refers to Mario as her friend, but again makes tons of references to her being in the original Donkey Kong and Mario saving her.
And there you have it, 3 Donkey Kongs, 2 Marios, and 1 timeline that would make even George Lucas tear his hair out. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching.
Was it? Was it really? Look me in the eye and tell me that this sad excuse for a video is good enough for that ending, or even to be lumped in with every other game theory in existence. I dare you. You want a lazy theory? This is the laziest it gets. This is pretty much just a few Mario games slapped into some kind of vague order with a couple smaller theories splashed in here and there. There was the Daisy bit, which felt like it should have been in the Rosalina videos or something, and there was the Jumpman bit, which honestly could have and should have been its own video because it makes the entire rest of this video pointless padding just to get to it. Drake and Kenny did absolutely nothing for this video besides make insignificant statements and poor excuses for jokes, making their presence redundant at best, but they were hardly the worst part of this video. This video is a crash course in how not to make a timeline. Timelines are heavily researched affairs that string themselves together not just with circumstantial bits and pieces, but with an actual narrative. There was no story to this timeline, no reason for things to be the way they are. In my old Mario timeline, I made a point of transitioning from game to game as naturally as possible, and I tied everything together with the Star Spirits from Paper Mario and an underground revolutionary group made up of all those miscellaneous Mario antagonists that don't really seem to have an alliance in their games. There was also this whole time loop with Bowser Jr. and Kammy Koopa that stemmed off an old interpretation of Superstar Saga that had to be thrown out when the remake came out, but that was there too. The revised version of that timeline is shaping up to be even crazier. I won't get too spoilery about it since I'm still working on it, but as of now, I've exchanged time-traveling Koopas for time-traveling primates. Odyssey flipped a lot of tables, I'll say that. Does any of this stuff I've brought up about my timeline have any grounding in canon? I'll admit it doesn't. It's there, though, because I had a story I felt like telling. It's my timeline based on my interpretation of the games in their world. It's the reason why I'm a lot more lenient towards timelines than any other type of theory. It's essentially fanfiction in motion, and a good timeline can really make you think. I can still motion to disprove theories within timelines, though, and if those timelines contradict canon or don't properly explain themselves, that's grounds for correction. In short, this is probably the laziest video in the entire game theory library. At the end of the day, the only real substance is the ending bit, which is only a few minutes out of a nearly 20-minute video. If me repeating the same point over and over again wasn't enough to hammer that home to you, then let me repeat it one more time. Explanation! Get some! Do you feel it? I can already feel the rumbling. It's time. Next time, we cover the beast to end all beasts. Next time, we kill Mario is mental once and for all.